Is reporting tensions still simmering between Washington and Tehran. The State Department slapping new sanctions on the Iranian general accused of ordering troops to open fire on protesters. Back in November, around 150 people were killed in that incident. We are also learning that 11 Americans were hurt last week after Iran fired missiles at 2 Iraqi bases housing U.S. troops. President Trump now engaging in a war of words with Iran's supreme leader, saying on Twitter, quote, instead of leading Iran toward ruin, its leaders should abandon terror and make Iran great again. So where does diplomacy go from here? Let's bring in Vinny Boles. He's a retired Army Major General and the Army's former Assistant Deputy Chief of Staff. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Arthel.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. So, General Boles, is diplomacy dead?
No, it's not dead. A lot of people have been focusing on the words. As in always in that part of the world, behavior is believable. I would watch what Iran does, not just what the Ayatollah says. Specifically, will they take this as an opportunity to move forward and engage in some kind of a negotiation to lower the temperature, or will they continue to exploit their terrorism as they do throughout the region?
So back-channel diplomacy is alive. Meanwhile, though, more U.S. economic sanctions raining down on Iranian leaders. And Iran has internal problems with more locals protesting against those Iranian leaders. So who or what country is providing Iran with a lifeline at this time?
Three predominantly. North Korea is providing them, missile technology and has been for quite a few years. And then on top of that also, as recently happened, Russia and China were engaged in naval exercises with them in the Persian Gulf. So that's some area they're getting stability and some support from, I think, as well as some nations in the region who have maybe not boldly but surreptitiously at least supporting them.
So all that, as you just laid out, General Boles, what's the U.S.'s next move, diplomatically speaking, militarily, or otherwise?
From a military perspective, it has to be security. I think the unknown in this equation is Iraq. Iraq, what we really have to watch is Iraq does not want to be perceived, as the chew toy between an Iran-U.S. fight. Also, at the same time, they don't want to be perceived as our lackey and just doing whatever we want them to do. So Iraq is really the unknown, and it's the arena where all this is unfolding. So I think dealing with the Iraqi administrations that are there now, with the prime minister and those forces there, and maintaining their strength and stability is going to be key for us.
So then we know President Trump is saying that the U.S. is going to keep the troops in Iraq. I believe we have some 5,000, 5,300. And if you have, to your point, if you have Iraq wanting to make sure that they have a spine and they're not going to be ordered around by America, how does that work out? What's the negotiation there to keep the American troops there, to keep stability over there, and to let Iraq continue to be independent?
Well, candidly, we haven't handled it well, in my opinion. The Prime Minister, Mahdi, had asked that the U.S. send a delegation over so they could discuss the status of forces and the U.S. troops that are in the region and how that could be managed. The response from our State Department, from the Secretary of State and others, was to refuse their request and say, we'll be happy to talk about cost sharing and burden sharing, but there's no necessity for us to go over and talk about removal of U.S. forces or troops. Despite our best efforts, that can't help but come across to both the Iraqi administration and the Iraqi people as arrogant.
We'll see how that plays out, and we'll have you back to analyze that for us. Meanwhile, finally, we just had Greg Palkot reporting that Iran is going to send the black boxes from the Ukrainian flight they accidentally shot down. Is this their way of saying we're trying to behave more like a normal state?
I think it's their way of trying to show to the other nations. If this was just a U.S.-Iran issue, that would be one thing. But there are a number of other nations involved in this now. The Ukraine, Canada, Europe. This is an effort to show to those nations that Iran is not without a heart nor without a brain to actively open themselves so they can handle this issue. And it's their apology as well, because it's their action that precipitated it.
Right. Well, for now, General Boles, we have to leave it there, but I look forward to speaking with you next time.